Eliade, a leading scholar in comparative religion, shows that there are two basic conceptions of time. There is what he calls the cosmological approach to time, which sees time as being circular. That which was will be again. He calls this the myth of the eternal return. And this reflects the world of nature. The spring comes, it's followed by the summer, then the autumn, and then the winter, and then yet again there is spring. And this conception of time was very prevalent in the ancient world, in the world of pagan belief, who often worshipped nature and saw the time and the flow of time as paralleling the flow of nature itself, which is always circular. Now, Professor Eliade himself was a fascist anti-Semite. In fact, he was a member of the infamous Iron Guard of Romania. However, nevertheless, he credits the Torah and Judaism for bringing to the world a different conception of time, what he calls historical time. Time is always flowing forward, and this allows dynamics and progress to be taking place. Now we could capture the two different views of time by looking at two different meanings of the story of the flood that almost annihilated all of humanity. We know that the story of the Mabul, the flood, appears not only in the Torah, but in many ancient civilizations and cultures have also preserved the story of the flood that comes and almost annihilates all of humanity, all of life. However, for the Jewish people, the story of the flood was not news for them. However, there is a special message in the Torah relating to the flood. And that is that at the end of the story, God says, the flood will not happen again. The world will not be wiped out again. And this is what allows history to begin. Because the other views of the flood, which see this flood as part of a cycle, the world is created anew, and life goes on, and then a flood will come again and erase everything, and then yet again life will be born anew, again similar to nature, that every year there's again the spring. However, Eliade had a limited understanding of Judaism, and it's not accurate to say that Judaism switched the cosmic view of time with the historical view of time. It would be more accurate to say that Judaism added an additional perspective of time. Judaism preserves a cosmic view of time and adds to that the historical view. And in our week's Parsha, Parashat Emor, that deals with the different holidays during the course of the year, we could see the interplay between these two views of reality, cosmic and historical, two types of time. In fact, the Jewish philosopher Franz Rosenswieg has once described the Jewish view of time as being like a spiral staircase. On one hand, it's a circle. We go through the year, and yet again we go through the different special dates, and we feel that we're reenacting, reliving those special times when we get back to each of those dates. But together with the circle, it's a spiral constantly going up. Now, within Parashat Emor, the holidays are presented, and it all starts, the first month is the month of Nisan. And Nisan is the first month because that's the month that the Jewish people left Egypt. That's the month that Jewish history really begins. And the most significant month in terms of holidays is the month of Tishrei. And it's clear from the Parsha that the reason why Tishrei has achieved such prominence is because Tishrei is the 7th month. And within Judaism, the 7th is always special. As the Medrash says, that explains why Tishrei has such a special status. There are in fact 4 holidays in Tishrei. There's Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, and Shmini Atzeret, more than any other month. And the Medrash says it's because all the 7s are holy. The 7th day is Shabbat. The 7th year is Shemitah. So it's only appropriate that the 7th month will have a special status. However, there's a question that often puzzled me. And that's that the 7th day, Shabbat, is holy, but in part because Shabbat is the end of the week. It's the end of the 7 days of creation. The 7th year of Shemitah is a special year, but the 7th year ends is the cycle of the land. However, if we go the analogy for a month, we'd expect the special month would not be the 7th month, but rather the 12th month. That should be the special month, reflecting the end of the process. But one day, I was looking at a clock, and the answer hit me. That if we look at a year as being a circle, in fact in Hebrew we talk about Machzor Hashanah, which is the circle of the year. And in fact the word Chag, holiday, comes from the same word for circle. If you look at a year as a circle, you realize that the 7 is the furthest you get from 1. You look at a clock on a wall, you'll see that the hour furthest from 1 o'clock is 7 o'clock. Because after 7 o'clock, within the circle, you start coming closer back again to the initial point. So the 7th month, it has a 7, the special number, which is considered to be holy, and 7 is also reflect the end. The end of the historical process beginning in the 1st month of the leaving of Mitzrayim is symbolized by the 7th month. However, Tishrei is special not only for historically, Tishrei is important also cosmologically. Chazal believe that Tishrei is the month in which the world was created. And as a result, the holiday, which the Torah designates as the 1st day of the 7th month, is celebrated also as Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the year. And Chazal see Tishrei as representing the beginning of the year, because in Eretz Yisrael, that's when the rain comes, the rain which reenacts the initial rain in the story of creation that led to the development of life. So Tishrei is both historically significant, the end of the process, the 7th month, and cosmologically significant, the 1st month where again the rain begins again. And within the Jewish holidays itself, we find both facets. The holiday of Sukkot, for example, on one hand is historical. We sit in the Sukkot and to remember after leaving of Egypt that the Jewish people lived in Sukkot. But Sukkot also represents a return to nature. Rav Kook has written about this very poetically. And we know in the Sukkah, we leave the house to live outside. The Sukkah itself is built of only of objects that are natural. We have the Arba Minim, the lulav, the etrog, the adasim, and the aravot, that each represent different forms of vegetation, which also represent our feeling of closeness to nature. And in the Beit HaMikdash, on Sukkot, they would bring the water libations to the Mizbeach as part of the prayer for the return of the rain, of the water that will again bring life into the world. So in Sukkot we have a holiday which focuses on nature, the cosmic process, that every year restores itself, and it's a historical holiday that recalls that great historical event of life in the desert. In many ways, I think one of the messages that emerges from contemplating the month of Tishrei is that the end of history is the beginning of the cosmos. The seventh month, which represents the ends, represents also the beginning, the first month. And the biblical prophecies about the world at the end of days, such as in the 14th chapter of Zechariah or the 47th chapter of Yechezkel, present the world, the ideal world at the end of days, as being very reminiscent of the world at the very beginning, of the Garden of Eden. And this may lead to the question to ask, at the end of days, what has changed between the end and the beginning? A view of the world as being cycles would see that there is no difference. That what was has happened again. However, the combination of history and cosmos gives us an answer to what ultimately is the difference of the end to that of the beginning. In the beginning, the world was pristine, it was pure, things were ideal. The world was created by God alone. The Jewish view of the days of Mashiach, of the end of days, the world that we're heading to, is a world that ultimately is achieved by a partnership of God and man. Man, throughout history, humanity, through our actions, are building the world and helping the world achieve its ultimate state, and in that partnership gives the special status of the world that we're hoping to ultimately arrive at, the world, the end, the beginning, achieving at the end, but as the famous t-shirt, same, but different. Shabbat Shalom.